What's up guys, Brendan Hancock here with another episode of Groove Subaru today, and today we're going to take a look at the 17 Forester and Outback, in particular their memory height adjustments and how to make changes and things regarding that. So it's a question I get a lot doing the Love Encore redeliveries. A lot of times people will buy a car that has already had the memory height set to something, as a previous, person was looking at it and set it to some strange height, and then they have issues, setting it back to normal. So today we're going to take a look at both how to do it on the Outback and how to do it on the Forester. So let's take a look at the Outback first. Now we're inside the 2017. This is a 2.5i limited Outback with option package 24. But what we're looking in particular is over here on this little panel with all of the buttons. Now, even if this didn't have eyesight, the two buttons we're looking at in particular are the electrical button here to lift the rear liftgate, and then also the memory button here. Now, if you can see real closely, or if you want to zoom in at all, you can see a white line on the top of this button here. That means that the memory is not set to a specific height. Now, if you push the button in, if we've programmed a specific memory height, now when I do push the lift button, it's going to go to that height. But how you set it, you want to make sure first you can see that white line on the top, and then you're going to push and hold the lift button right here, the electrical button, and you'll hear two beeps, and that's how you know that it's going to start lifting. Or you could look behind you and see that it's lifted up as well. So now we're going to go take a look at the back and see how to actually adjust it to a memory position. But before we go back there, what we want to do is we want to push in the memory button while it's at the top before we make those adjustments. That's very key. So now let's head on to the back. All right, so the last thing that we did was we made sure we pushed in the memory button once the liftgate reached the very top right here. So it's pushed in the memory position. Now we have to adjust it to the height that we want. The only times you'd really actually use this is perhaps you have a shoulder injury or something, or you're putting a kayak on top, or you have a low garage where you don't want it to lift. For most people, they're not going to use the memory height adjustment. So in those cases, you can always just make sure you can see the white line on the top. It's always going to go all the way to the top if the memory is not set there. But if we want to adjust it, what we're going to do, since it's pushed into a memory height, we can actually, it sort of disables the electrical part of that. You do have to be pretty gentle in lowering this here. You don't want to force it too hard. But if you do move it down like such, we'll get it to right about here. I'm then going to push the button on the back here, push and hold that in. I'm going to hear two beeps, first a quick one and then a nice solid one. And then I'm going to walk back around to this side and just push that close button here to close the rear lift gate. One thing it's really important to note is that the vehicle must be off when you're setting these adjustments. If the vehicle is not off, when you do lift it to the top and try to make those adjustments, you're not going to get that beep that, letting you know that it's been set to that height. So it's been set right there, it's been programmed, so now let's kind of prove that it's been set properly. So I'm going to push that lift button open again. And there you go. It's only going to go up about halfway right to where we set it. So kayak's going to be good to go. And then now, let's go take a look on the Forester. So right here I have a 2017 2.5i limited Forester with the automatic rear liftgate. Now this one doesn't have all of the eyesight features, the navigation that this one does, but all of the buttons and everything that we're going to focus on are going to be located in the same spot. So as I mentioned with the Outback, the vehicle does need to be turned off in order to adjust that memory setting. So now that we have the vehicle turned off, let's go take a look on the driver's side and the buttons that we're going to use to adjust the memory height. So just like with the Outback that we looked at previously, the buttons that we're going to be working with here are going to be on the left side of the steering wheel. Now, as I mentioned, this one doesn't have eyesight and things. You're not going to see all of the pre-collision braking buttons, things of that nature. But the two buttons we're going to focus on are going to be the memory height button, which you see here, and also the automatic lift button, which is right next to that traction control off button that you see right here. So on the Outback, if you recall, that white line I referred to, if you could see it, was basically saying that the memory height was not set to anything. Was on the top. Now on the Forester, that white line is actually going to be on the side here, the left side of that memory height button. And that's going to give you that indicator of whether or not it's pushed in or it's not, to let you know if it's going to go all the way to the top or if it's going to go to where you had set the memory to. So what we're going to do in order to make sure that it goes all the way to the top is we're going to make sure we can see that white line, and we're going to push and hold the open button. We're going to hear those two beeps, and that's going to lift the tailgate all the way to the top. So even if you have, most people don't use the memory height, so long as you can see the white line, it's going to go to the top every time. So now before we head to the back to actually make the adjustments to the height, what we want to do is we actually want to push in that memory button. By doing that, that's going to save whatever height we adjust it to as the memory position. So now that we've done that and it's already way at the top, let's go take a look and make our adjustments. All right, so we've raised it to the top. The memory height button is pushed in, the car is off, now we're ready to make the adjustments. So we're going to move this manually. We want to make sure that we're not pushing too hard or anything like that. It's going to move a little bit more easily than the Outback does, but we still want to be very gentle here. So I'm going to hold it here, and while maintaining it at the height I want, I'm going to push and hold in the lift button on the back here for us. So it's going to save it at that height. Now I'm going to walk back over here, car's still off and everything. I'm going to close it. Now it is still pushed in, the memory height button, so we've just saved it by adjusting it right there. So now when we lift it, if the memory height button is still pushed in, which it is, it should only go up to that height right there. So let's test that out. Perfect. My kayak is not destroyed. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys do have any other questions or anything like that, please do not hesitate to give us a call. We'd love to help you out. If you guys have suggestions for videos you'd like to see, please leave them in the comments section. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe today. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you guys next time on Groove Subaru Today.